Welcome to Cosmo Talks. I'm Petra. In this episode, we explore why emotions are metabolic events and how you can be a good host to your microorganisms. Because together, you form a fascinating ecosystem. And when the interaction is right, when the crosstalk runs smoothly, you flourish. When you're happy, you feel it. When you're anxious, you feel it. Emotions seem intangible. Experiences that happen to you, not things you can measure. But what if every emotion you feel has a metabolic signature? What if anxiety looks like a specific pattern of substances in your blood? What if depression isn't just a mood, but a measurable biochemical state? What if your gut helps create those patterns? Today, we close this series with the most fundamental question. What are emotions really? And what role does your microbiome play in how you experience them? We have a stubborn separation in our thinking. Emotions are psychological. Metabolism is physiological. Two worlds, two domains, two types of experts. In this view, emotions are things your brain does, and your body feels the consequences. You get angry, and your heart speeds up. You're sad, and you feel tired. The emotion comes first, the physical follows. But science is tilting this picture. More and more research shows that the order is often reversed. Your body detects something, a change in blood sugar, an inflammation signal, a shortage of certain amino acids, and your brain interprets that as an emotion. You don't become tired because you're sad. You feel sad because your body is in a state your brain interprets as sadness. Emotions aren't separate from your metabolism. They're an expression of it. Let's make this concrete with one example, the tryptophan pathway. Tryptophan is an amino acid you get through food. Your body can't make it itself. Once inside, tryptophan can go two ways. Route 1, it gets converted into serotonin, the neurotransmitter associated with calm, contentment, emotional stability. Route 2, it gets converted along the kynurenine pathway, a route that leads to substances linked to inflammation and, when overactivated, to depressive symptoms. Which route dominates depends on context, and that context is strongly influenced by your microbiome. During inflammation, including low-grade chronic inflammation, the balance shifts toward kynurenine. Less tryptophan becomes serotonin. More gets converted into substances associated with gloom, fatigue, loss of motivation. Your microbiome co-determines how much inflammation there is. It co-determines how much tryptophan is available. It even produces substances of its own that influence the pathway. In other words, the biochemical conditions for your mood are partly created in your gut. Another example, short-chain fatty acids. These are metabolites your gut bacteria produce when they ferment fibers, butyrate, propionate, acetate. These substances do much more than keep your gut wall healthy. They cross the blood-brain barrier. They influence the activity of brain regions involved in emotion regulation. They dampen inflammatory reactions in the central nervous system. Studies show that people with depression have, on average, lower levels of butyrate-producing bacteria. It's not coincidence, it's biochemistry. At Cosmo Group, we deliberately don't talk about mental complaints as something separate. When someone comes with fatigue, gloom, concentration problems, we look at the whole system, not because we want to replace psychologists, but because we know the boundaries between body and mind are artificial. One of the most striking realizations over the years is how often mental complaints have a metabolic component that nobody has investigated. A 45-year-old man treated for years for depression. Medication helped moderately. Therapy helped moderately. He called himself treatment-resistant. His microbiome told a different story. Extremely low diversity, hardly any butyrate-producing strains, chronically elevated inflammation markers. The tryptophan pathway was completely shifted toward kynurenine. We addressed his gut, not as an alternative to his mental health care, but as a complement. Targeted nutrition, prebiotics, time. After 4 months, he described it as if a filter had been removed. Not euphoric, not cured, but lighter, clearer, more open to the therapy he was already doing. His emotions weren't only in his head, they were also in his metabolism. And when that shifted, his experience shifted with it. Here's the summary of this whole series. Your emotions aren't mysterious. They're not fully psychological. They're also physiological, and specifically, they're partly metabolic. This isn't reductionism. It doesn't mean sadness is just chemistry, or that you can solve your anxiety with a supplement. Emotions are complex, layered, and deserve respect. But it does mean you have more influence than you think, not by thinking harder, not by suppressing your emotions, but by improving the conditions in which they arise. Your microbiome is one of those conditions. Your diet is one of those conditions. Your sleep, your timing, your stress, all conditions. Work on the foundation, and the structure on top becomes more stable. The biohack for this episode is an awareness exercise, the emotion food log. This coming week, note when you experience a strong emotional shift, positive or negative. Note the time and the emotion. Also note what you ate in the hours before and how your night before was. After a week, look for patterns. Does your afternoon dip always follow a certain type of lunch? Does your evening gloom come after days with little sleep? Is there a connection between fiber-rich days and a more stable mood? You're not building a diagnosis, you're building awareness, and awareness is the first step toward change. This was the final episode of our series on gut and emotions. Let's look back. Your mood doesn't only live in your head. You have a belly brain with 500 million neurons. Your morning mood isn't a personality trait, but a system output. Stress hits your gut first, not last. Your microbiome has a day-night rhythm you can support, and emotions are metabolic events you can influence. You're not a machine that can break down. You're an ecosystem that responds, and that's good news. Success comes with falling and getting back up. Progress is rarely a straight line. Every step, including the difficult ones, is part of the journey. Want to be part of a community of like-minded people who believe in flourishing together? Visit cosmogroup.eu. Until then.